Each time we head into the new year, I get an influx of new clients and new patients who want to focus on their nutrition and want to make some new changes. So I figure I'll share with you 3 tips to get the most out of your nutrition in the new year. All right, let's dive in. So as we go along, I'm also going to cook one of my favorite stress-free meals. It's really easy. It's packed with vegetables and nutrients. It has a source of protein, and it's actually a really simple dish to make. So the first tip I'm going to give you is to know your macros. I know. Nobody wants to count calories forever, and I totally get it, but hear me out. Whether your goal be weight loss, weight gain, muscle building, or just to maintain and maybe just clean up your diet because you maybe have hypercholesterol, right? You need to know your macros. You need to know, number 1, what you're actually consuming right now, because I promise you, unless you've been tracking in the past, you probably have no idea. And number 2, you need to know where you should be to hit whatever that goal is. Now, tracking your macros, I know sounds scary, but it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to be time consuming. But it's really important to know, especially if you are goal oriented, to know how much fat are you consuming, how much protein are you consuming, and how much carbs you are consuming, because that's where you get to make the magic happen and change up your diet a bit. And of course, again, I'm going to keep saying that that's going to depend on whether your goals are weight loss, weight gain, maintenance, muscle building, etc., etc. So in order to know what your macros are currently, you need to do a little bit of tracking. And I personally like to use MyFitnessPal. This is what I recommend to patients as well as clients in my virtual coaching practice. You can use the free version. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. You can even just scan food labels and it'll let you know what the macro breakdown is, and it will track it over a period of time. Now, I usually recommend track for at least a week and include a weekend, because the weekend is where we see the most variation usually in our dietary habits. Once you actually know what your macro breakdown generally is given that week, then you can also use a macro calculator online to calculate what they should be. And when you choose one of these, you need to let the system know what your goal is. So whether or not you're trying to be in maintenance or, fat loss or weight gain.
Now, onto the recipe I talked about earlier.
We're gonna make a Japanese-inspired soup. It's my take on making a version of chanko nabe. It's packed with a bunch of vegetables. You can add any sort of protein you want. I'm actually gonna use some tofu. And this will generally last in the refrigerator for a number of days. And you can make a huge quantity so that you and the family can have it if you're meal prepping. So several ways to do this. You can make your own broth, but what I usually do, or what I recommend, is to actually go to your local Asian grocer, and sometimes they even have it in some of the fancier grocery stores, but get your soup base. So I have a couple options here. I have this one, which is a sesame-based flavor, really tasty. I have this one, which is a kind of curry flavor. Or you can make it on your own just using some miso paste, and you can make your own sort of miso-based flavor as well. So tons of options. So first, assemble your veggies, raid your fridge, and figure out what you have. This is great for using root vegetables, usually carrots, if you have daikon or turnip, potatoes do well. Any sort of hearty vegetable that can withstand cooking for quite a bit of time is usually a good choice. So I've got some mushrooms. I've got 2 types. I've got some shiitakes and some shimejis. I love the umami flavor. I've got some potatoes, and I like to use the smaller ones. I usually keep the skin on, super easy. I don't have any carrot, but I've got some zucchini kicking around. We'll use that. Some cabbage. We've got some garlic already peeled and chopped because I'm too lazy to actually peel the garlic. And we've got some onion, and this onion might have gone rogue, so we'll figure that out. Oh, and then for protein for this one, I'm gonna use some tofu. Now, if I'm using a different protein source, I'll usually just cook that separately and kind of have it with the soup, or just kind of put it in after so that it doesn't overcook. The second tip I wanna share with you is meal prepping. And don't click out the video. Not meal prepping in, making all your containers for the entire week, but I mean making a few dishes, so a protein source, a vegetable source, and of course having your fat either as a form of food or using some oils to cook with, but having different options that can get you through a few days for the week. So it doesn't have to look like, oh, I have to have tuna on a rice cake for breakfast or for lunch, and then chicken and vegetables for dinner every day of the week. No, that's unless you like that sort of thing, I generally find it boring. And by the second day, I'm ready to eat something else. So instead, when I think about meal prep, I think about actually making your shopping list for the week. Think of a few, maybe 3 or 4 dishes you want to have for the week, or usually I prep for about maybe 3 days or so. So getting your list together, figuring out actually when you're going to go to the grocery store, setting some time aside. One of the biggest complaints I hear is people hate going grocery shopping, especially on the weekend because it's so freaking busy and crazy. But I actually sit down to plan when I'm going to do that, because that makes it far more likely I'm actually going to go to the grocery store. And then when I get there, I want to get in and I want to get out. So it's important for me to have a list together of what I'm actually going to get. This actually cuts down on food waste and saves you time when you get into the store. Or you could do something like Instacart and then you don't have to go grocery shopping at all. So choice is yours, but just make a plan. And this is what I call meal prepping. All right, so we're gonna need a decent sized pot. I like to use this giant soup pot. You don't have to fill it up. I try not to fill it up, but I usually fill it up. So onto the stove, and usually I'll just get my broth kind of warmed up. I'm gonna go with the sesame today. Wait, do I want sesame or curry? Yeah, well, let's do the sesame. So the beauty of this, you really just cut it open and go into the pot. And it's usually not going to be quite enough liquid, so what I'll do is just add some water to that. This will also cut down on the fact that it's a little salty. If you wanted to add some miso to this, you totally could. Honestly, totally up to you and kind of your preference and what you like. All right, once your veggies are all washed, just go ahead and start chopping them up. Like I said, for the potatoes, I usually don't even bother to take off if there's like a little root growing, but I usually don't even take out the skin. I just wash them thoroughly. Please wash your vegetables. And I just cut them up into, I guess, medium-sized chunks so that they will cook pretty quickly. So this is a great way to clean out the fridge because you can literally throw whatever you want into there. Making a meal like this is fantastic because you're getting so many veggies in. And all these different types of vegetables, root vegetables, squash. Like I said before, I'll generally use carrot. But they have all, the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that really go into helping you feel energized and getting a lot out of your nutrition. And I usually just kind of eyeball this. It really kind of depends on how big my pot is, not gonna lie. So, usually I'll turn this on and let it start to get warm. So I don't want to get this everywhere, which is exactly what I'm doing. So I'll add, so I start to add the bigger vegetables because those usually need a little bit longer to cook. And I will just add everything in layers. I'll put the potatoes in, if I have carrots, celery, daikon, whatever, lotus root, love to add lotus root, in first, and then bring that up to a boil. Put it on high heat for now. Let it go. In the meantime, I'll continue prepping the rest of the vegetables. But next, I would add in the mushrooms and the tofu, and then last, I'll add in the cabbage and the bok choy if I add that. Oh, I'll throw in some cloves of garlic. I love garlic, so I will literally just throw in whole cloves. And I'll add a little onion as well. So as this starts to come up to boiling, I will then add the mushrooms and the tofu and then turn it down, put the lid on, let it simmer for a bit, let everything cook down. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And tip number 3 I would share with you is to actually practice mindful eating. Do not sit and watch TV or be on your phone while you're eating. You want to set and prime your system to be in the parasympathetic mode. That way, when you rest and digest in this mode, your body's gonna be able to absorb all the nutrients you're getting from that delicious meal. You're gonna be able to be in a relaxed state, and you're probably gonna be less prone to overeat as well. When we eat in a state of stress, when we have a lot of things going on, we're really just not paying attention. We have a tendency to not recognize that we're full. We have a tendency to just kind of overeat, and we have a tendency to also not digest very well. So mindful eating helps us tap into those bodily cues that actually tell us when we're full and tell us when we should stop eating, or tell us maybe we're thirsty and not hungry. So taking the time to sit down, eat mindfully, be present with, if you're eating as a family, it's a great time to talk to the family, and it's a great time to just connect with your food and tap into that parasympathetic nervous system. So thanks for joining me in my kitchen. I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that you found some tips that you can take away to level up your nutrition in the new year, or anytime you decide to hit the reset button on your health and nutrition. As always, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. If you learned something from this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help other people find the channel. And be sure to hit the notification bell and subscribe so that you know when I post a new video next week. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye. Oh yeah, our soup, she is done. She is delicious. She is nutritious. She is gorgeous. There she is. She is jam-packed, full of goodies, full of nutrients, full of vitamins, minerals, and tons of fiber and vegetables. Please give this one a try. If you do give it a try, let me know.